The F-18 NATOPS. Contains everything they want you to know about your aircraft. I'm assuming you know the book, inside and out.
Damn right.
Yeah,
damn straight.
You got it.
So does your enemy. And we're off.
Hello everyone, this is Foxhound, coming back again with another tutorial. This time around I am going to start a couple of videos regarding how to use aircraft carriers. I have released one video before regarding rules of engagement. Make sure to review all the videos are going to be on a playlist on tips up tutorials. Today we are going to cover settings and the basics on Ace Combat. Okay, so for this we are going to enter a test. I will be using the SU-39 and the Harrier just for this particular showcase, but this is not based on the planes. There's going to be a completely different video about that because this is just basic controls. There are more specific tactics on the types of strike fighters that you use, but for now let's go on the basics. Okay, so we are going to start a session and I'm going to start talking about the basics, the very basics. If we open the settings, which you can access from here or from the lobby, you will be able to enter the controls. Okay, now regarding basic settings, I'm going to focus on the basic ones over here, but let me tell you right out of the get-go, this one controls graphics. If you want ultra graphics, if you want frames per second, all that good thing, all those good things, I will suggest you to adjust this to make sure that performance of your phone is on top condition. So if you have to reduce to low in order for the gameplay to run well, set it to low. Okay, I just have it on high because of course I produce videos for you guys and now I have a phone that is able to handle things. Control. Okay, so the most important thing regarding aircraft carriers that you need to know is first this one, show control stick. This way you are able to see the controls. Yeah, I recommend you to have it over there. I don't see any particular reason why you decide to take that out, so keep that. Now, control types. This is when it gets juicy. You get to choose Ace Combat instead of Arcade. Why will you choose Ace Combat? Because Ace Combat allows you to have more control of the plane. It doesn't force you to be in front. The camera is going to force to be always in front of the plane, but you don't want that. You want Ace Combat. Yeah, so the first thing that you need to do, my first recommendation, switch this to Ace Combat, and then you are going to come over here to the training rounds and you are going to practice a bit. You are going to do the steps that I'm going to suggest you to do. Okay, control sensitivity, adjust that as you see fit. 50%, I think it's okay. Yeah, this button over here, keep it on. Yeah, it's very important. It allows your aircraft to automatically face a specific ship. So there are very small particular reasons why you will turn this off, but for now keep it on. Okay, and on game I also want you to please choose this to all markers because it is recommended for you to see the missiles of your allies, and that way you are able to target ships that are being targeted by your allies. Now, this is one of the key things that I'm going to show you over here. Okay, there is this button that says switch control to a new unit. Okay, so what that does when you have it on, and let me give you an example. I am going to release one of my helicopters over here. Okay, I'm going to start with this one. So as soon as you pre-select, and just in case, bear in mind, you can always pre-select the ship that you want to launch. Yeah, it's not like it launches automatically. You can pre-select. That's going to be a more advanced guide because you need to use this as your advantage for other tactics. But for now, know that you can pre-select what you want to launch, and then you have two options. You can click the launch button, or you can click on the icon of the ship, sorry, the plane or the helicopter that you want to launch, right? In this case, I always click on the icon of the plane that I want to launch. Okay, so if you click, it will automatically adjust the camera, so now it moves to the new unit. Now, as a new player, I don't recommend you to have this feature on. Okay, the only reason why you want this on is if you are using a plane that is using guided missiles and you are going to use the tactic, such as Harrier. That's why I have it over here. Okay, I am going to crash my helicopter, okay, on purpose. Yeah. And I am going to show you what happens now when you click to a new unit. Okay, so if you take this off, what's going to happen is that I am going to launch, just in case, all my planes at once. Yeah, and what it does is that it's not going to move to switch the camera to the new units that launch. So technically, you could launch all your aircraft at once. Okay, if you want it. Okay, so I recommend you to have this setting. There is no particular reason why you would want to switch the camera to a new plane. The only reason why you will want to do it is only for the purpose of using guided missiles. Okay, let's go back a little bit. I am going to again crash my planes. I'm going to crash them over here so I can continue with the tutorial. Okay, so now let's start with launching your planes. Okay, so first of all, I will deliver a more in-depth guide on how, tactics, how to launch planes and everything like that. But at least I want people to know the basics. So for the time being, my suggestion is that you handle one plane at a time. Don't launch all your aircraft at once, like I did in this example. Why is that, Foxhound? Okay, back in the day, people will launch everything at the same time because you were able to overwhelm the air defenses of a ship, and that way you were able to pretty much kill anything in the first volley. Now that is not the case because the air defenses are too strong, so you are going to be losing your bombers, drones, and strike fighters and everything without doing major damage. Okay, so I recommend you only to launch one. Okay, so let's start with the controls. Assuming you are starting the match, again, you pre-select your fighter or your strike fighter, and then you will be able to launch it. Okay, when you select the feature that I said previously, you have to click on the icon of the ship that you want to maneuver. In this case, I switch to my strike fighter. Yep. And that way you are able to control whatever aircraft that you want to control. Okay, if you click on the icon on the top right corner of your screen. Okay, sorry if this sounds a bit basic for a couple of you, but again, yeah, this is some basic tutorial. Okay, so what Ace Combat does is that it allows you to have the flexibility to switch where you want to see without turning the plane. That's what it does. By now you have chosen to either keep it non-inverted or inverted, but technically if you, for example, if I want to turn, in this particular case, left, in the joystick you can just keep that button left and then you are able to turn your plane left, or you are able to turn your plane right. But the most important thing is that with your right thumb, no matter what your plane is doing, you can always decide where you want to see all the time. So it doesn't necessarily have to be in front of the plane. So the key thing is that you are going to use your right stick to always point where you want to see. Okay, so that is the most important thing. Now let's go into a little bit more difficult. Let's put it this way. Again, I'm going to provide a more in-depth tutorial regarding specific strike fighters and fighters, but I want you to be able to at least come out with good knowledge that you will be able to use at some point. Well, first of all, in the right corner of the screen, if you see, you have an acceleration button that activates the afterburner of the strike fighter, or you have a button that allows you to go slow, and not be able to go at full speed. This is crucial for the engagements that I'm going to teach you. Now, again, there's going to be a more in-depth tutorial, but you have to take into account that how you engage in battle, right? When you have a strike fighter, you are going to accelerate at top speed. Most of the time you are going to climb up because you want to obey the air defenses. Now, how you are going to engage depends on the type of strike fighter that you have. For this particular example, I have an Su-39, and most of the planes will have this type of setting. You will have two missiles, and you are going to have some type of other missile that is going to do other things. Okay, for the purpose of saying that you have a standard strike fighter with two missiles and you don't have grenade launchers or anything, you have only missiles. The way to engage, let's take this example over here, right? Let's assume for a moment that I'm going to engage that Yamato over there. Okay, so the first thing that I want you to notice with Ace Combat is that when you, with your camera on the right stick, identify a ship, you don't need to move any button and the aircraft will automatically direct itself to position in front of the ship. So you don't have to do anything. It doesn't matter what direction you are, if you are up, if you are down, doesn't matter. As soon as you identify that ship, the button that I mentioned will automatically switch the direction of the plane to there. Okay, so that's the first thing that you need to take into account. There are a total, I will say, of 3 forms of engagement depending on the strike fighter that you have. You have the standard form of engagement, in which you have a strike fighter that only has missiles. And what you want to do on that particular moment, I'm not going to use any type of missiles for the time being, but what you want to do is that you are aiming at, I'm going to use a weaponry, I think it's better that way. You are going to aim at your target, and just bear in mind, again, a small tip before I continue, bear in mind on the distance of each of your missiles. So for example, I know that Su-39, the missile with the longest range, it's going to be the white one. The other ones, they are not at range. So there are multiple ranges. Remember to know the ranges of your missiles and try to always click on the one that has the highest distance. But for the time being, let's focus on engagement. So, how you want to handle the standard form of engagement is, when you see a ship, there are 3 ways of attack. Let's put it this way. When you get close, you want to go up, you launch all your missiles. Let's assume that you are able to launch everything, and you want to turn left or right until you are able to recharge all your missiles and engage again. Now, this is a trick that I want you to learn. If you don't press any button, the strike fighter will automatically turn to the ship. However, when you are in a fight, right, your missiles require some time to recharge, yeah, before you can engage again. So you need to give yourself some time to re-engage, let's put it this way. So what you want to do, again, this is going to be a small example. You launch all your missiles, assume you launch all your missiles, you then go and choose one direction, and then you are going to turn your plane left and right slightly, as you are seeing, left and right, left and right. What this allows you to do is to keep the distance from the plane. It can be in any direction that you want, but this allows you to keep the distance, yeah, and that way you are not getting close. And when you are ready to re-engage, let's put it this way, you leave all the buttons, you wait for the marker to turn green and launch again. Yeah? So this is the standard way of engagement, okay? You go up. If I imagine that this is a real scenario, right? You go up, you are going to launch everything, yeah? Turn left and right, wait until your missiles are ready, re-engage, yeah? And here you have a trick at again, something critical to decide. You can decide to, again, turn away. In the top right corner of the screen you have a button that indicates if you want your plane to go back to the carrier. It's right next to the target over here that says number 2. If you click that button, the strike fighter will start going back to the aircraft carrier, as you can see over here. Yeah, so you don't have to worry about it. You have that first option. The second option that you have is to allow the AI to take control of your plane totally. That is useful, again, in future tactics. That is useful if you want to launch another ship. You are going to see that the plane will automatically start heading towards the closest target, and it's going to fire by itself. Okay, so you have that option. And the third option is for you to manually decide what you want to do. Okay, if you want to continue attacking, if you want to readjust the plane that you want to attack, you can decide. So you have the 3 options. I hope that was not like that didn't sound a lot confusing. Please put on the comments. But as you can see, there is a lot of ground to cover over here. Okay, the second form of engagement that you have is when you have a plane that uses more grenade launchers and more guns than missiles. Okay, for example, Su-39 is one of these type of strike fighters. Missiles reload very quickly, and most of them are grenade launchers or missiles that fire without the need, let's put it this way, of recharging itself. It's not like a direct missile, let's put it this way. So for this type of strike fighters, it is a bit easier. Yeah, what I recommend you to do is to climb, shoot your missiles, you climb, and then after you climb, yeah, this is a one mission when you reduce the speed of your craft or your plane, and you just keep attacking. You just keep attacking. Yeah, that's all you're going to do. This is a very, more easy way, let's put it this way, to attack, but it requires a strike fighter that has that type of setting. These usually planes that are like that, all the missiles and all the equipment are at close range, and usually they have a strong gun, okay, that is going over there. So I'm going to do this again. Remember, when you are doing this, even with this tactic or the previous one, let me find a ship. As you are doing this tactic, you want to constantly launch your flares. In this, because it is a training session over here, I do not have flares. No, yes, I do have flares, what I'm saying, yeah? So when you engage, you usually want to constantly throw the flares and engage. My recommendation is always throw flares. Make your life easier, don't try to time anything, always launch flares, okay? So that is recommended. You see, when you press this button down there of the flares release, yeah? So always click the flares when possible, always, and click on the missiles that you are using, okay? When you are using the first tactic, I usually recommend to use the flares when you are either entering the area of defense of a ship, for example right now, or when you decide to turn away and you are escaping. You can decide when to use it, depends on the tactic that you use. I'm going to show you like more advanced tactics regarding how far you get from a ship and how close you get from a ship, but I can tell you right off the get-go, if an enemy ship is under target by your allies and is about to die and its air defenses are busy, that is your golden opportunity to get close and do as much damage as possible, okay? That is your golden opportunity, okay? Otherwise, if the enemy ship, let's put it this way, is not being targeted by anyone, it is mostly recommended for you to stay away, let's put it this way, until you find an opening. Okay, so those are the two main ways of engagement. I will release another tutorial regarding laser guided missiles, but for the time being I am going to show you what's the third setting. So if I have this button turned on, automatically switches control to the main aircraft that you decide to launch. Yeah, you will only have that button when you have some type of strike fighter that has guided missiles, like Harrier. I released a video on how to do this trick, so try to please look at that video on my tricks and tips tutorial when I started learning this. But usually what you want to do, first tactic, is that you pre-select your strike fighter, you launch it, reduce speed, and then you are able to launch your missiles automatically. Okay, so that way you are able to have two volleys of the missiles and hit. Okay, so that's the first thing with this type of aircraft. With this one, you can afford. It's pretty much like the first tactic, but the only difference is that now you can afford to only be facing the enemy ship when you are going to use missiles that require you to do so. What do I mean, Foxhound? Do you notice that the target is on yellow? Huh? That means that you can only fire your missiles when your plane is facing the ship. However, laser guided missiles do not require you to face a ship. Okay, so because that is a thing, the only difference that you want to do over here is to pretty much be able to abuse a little bit more the distance that you have on the enemy ship. So how do we do that? First, let me crash my Su-39 because it's doing a lot of damage to other targets. Okay, let's do that. So how do you want to do this? Let's assume I'm attacking that Tolstoy for intended purposes. Okay, let's assume it's the Gerald Ford. Okay, so for that matter, right, when you engage into a fight, again, you come close, full speed, you launch the missiles that require you to switch, and then you turn left or right, and you use the tactic, but now you can afford to be away. Guided missiles usually take a shorter period of time to fire, so you can decide to stay away, or you can decide to re-engage. Let me finish the test and open it again because I'm out of targets, right? But you are able pretty much to stay away from ships more because the strike fighter does not require you to do so. Okay, so the form of engagement on that one is to, again, you identify your target. Remember, you have your right stick to identify the target. You don't need to touch anything. The plane will automatically face itself. You launch the missiles, and then you can turn, and you can pretty much attack your guided missiles. And remember the trick. This is the key thing that you need to learn. You can always keep pressing left and right on the joystick like I'm doing right now. I know that it's funny, that it looks like it's dancing, but it's a trick that I do in order to keep my distance. And that way you are able to again continue attacking and keep your distance, and you don't need to get close. So it's even more prevalent when you are using this type of ship. I recommend you always to try to fire all your missiles before the guided missiles, so that way you're able to penetrate the defenses even more. Okay, so that's it for everything related to Ace Combat. The key pointers, again, as a summary, as a big summary: look at the settings, make sure that you have selected everything that you need to select regarding control, right? On Ace Combat, on everything, make sure that your ship is going to target automatically to other ships. This is a more advanced tactic for specific strike fighters like AL-301. We are not doing that at the moment. And you have all your markers on, and you are able to automatically switch this off, and so that way you are able to automatically launch all your planes. I recommend you to launch only one at a time. Okay, I think I crashed my ship. One final thing, let me see how long this video is. 28 minutes. Wow, 28 minutes. I wonder if people are going to see 28 minutes. If you have reached this far, the final, I'm just going to give you a very small advanced tactic, let's put it this way, since you made it this far. You have seen that sometimes, for example, you have seen that planes are able to attack a target, or 2 or 3 planes are able to attack a target multiple times. Okay, what is happening over there is not that you release all your planes by itself. What is happening is that, again, I'm going to show you, again, using the same logic that I mentioned previously, right? What is happening is that imagining you have launched all your assault, right? And you have only one last volley with your plane. What's happening over here is that you just forcefully direct your strike fighter towards the ship that you want to kill. Yep. You leave control to the AI, and now you can start attacking with your strike fighter. Very useful, because then you are able to see what ship was attacked, right, which was Yamato, and then you are able to strike. Okay. It also helps when you see your strike fighter. Let's do it again, right? For instance, let's assume I'm attacking the Zumwalt, right? So I am attacking the Zumwalt. You are going to see on the map where is your other strike fighter. It's right there. Eventually it's going to target any of these other two ships. Again, sometimes the AI needs to be closer in order to attack something. I assume it's going to attack, let me see, some of the ship. But that way you are able to attack multiple ships at the same time. So for example, I'm going to force it on these rocks, right? So if I switch to my other strike fighter, you are going to see that again strike fighter is going to decide to attack on it. In order for that to work, you really need to force your strike fighter to be very, very, very close in order to do so. Yeah, and that way you are able to reassure that it's going to attack it like it's doing right now. Yeah, so it goes over there. I think right now it's out of armament, or maybe it's because it is the practice mode. But that's something you can do. That's something I tend to do all the time, especially because you don't want to waste time using one strike fighter or one drone a lot of things. Okay. So anyways, I think this tutorial went very, very, very long. I actually covered a lot of ground, more than I should have. So, well, I have to say thank you very much for reaching this far. I really hope that this was very, very useful. Remember, when you are in the lobby, you are able to access the settings on the cog on the top right corner of the screen, and you are able to access the settings. Okay, so again, I hope this was very useful. Please leave me in the comments what you think about the video. Was too long? Was too short? Do you want it to be cut? I can again do this video maybe shorter to be more specific, or if you prefer this video altogether. So for the time being, thank you very much for watching, and I hope that you are having a fantastic day. This is Foxhound signing off. Have a good day, everyone.